My son lied to me. He promised to spend Christmas together, but left me alone, saying he had to take care of his sick mother-in-law. But in the evening I went on Facebook and saw their photos from Hawaii, where they were laughing at my trust. Moreover, this trip was for my money, which I gave for my mother-in-law's treatment. They thought I was a weak old man, but I made them regret the way they treated me. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. The house smelled of gingerbread and pine, the kind of scent that wrapped you up like a warm blanket. My old radio crackled with Silent Night, and the Christmas tree in the corner flickered, its lights catching the tinsel like stars lost in a snowstorm. I adjusted a handmade ornament, a lopsided star Christopher made when he was 6, and stepped back, satisfied. The table was set for 5, me, Christopher, Sarah, and the grandkids, Emily and Max. I'd spent all morning roasting a turkey, the kind of meal that said family, even if my family had been shrinking since Mary passed. The doorbell chimed, sharp against the soft hum of the carols. My heart lifted. Christopher was early. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, smoothed my sweater, and opened the door. Snow swirled outside, dusting the porch. There he stood, my son, bundled in a new wool coat, keys jangling in his hand like he was already halfway gone. "Dad," he said, stepping inside but not meeting my eyes. "We need to talk." No hug, no smile. The warmth in my chest cooled. "Sure, come in. Dinner's almost ready." "Where's Sarah?" "The kids?" He shook his head, snow falling from his collar onto the rug. "They're not coming. I'm not staying either." I blinked, my hand still on the doorknob. "What do you mean?" "It's Christmas in 4 days." He shifted, the keys clinking. "Sarah's mom is sick. Real bad. We've got to head out tonight to take care of her." The words hit like a gust of winter air. I closed the door, trying to keep my voice steady. "Sick? What's wrong with her?" "It's complicated," he said, glancing at his phone. "She needs us. You understand, right? Family comes first." I nodded, though something in his tone felt off, like a note played wrong. "Of course. But, you're leaving now. You could stay for dinner, at least. The kids would love." "No time, Dad." His voice was sharp, cutting through the carol's refrain. "We're packing tonight, flying out tomorrow." I swallowed the ache in my throat. "Okay. Well, let me grab the gifts for Emily and Max." I turned to the tree, where a package wrapped in red paper sat, its bow curling like a dancer's skirt. I'd spent hours picking out that toy train for Max, a doll for Emily. My fingers brushed the paper, steadying me. Christopher sighed, loud enough to make me pause. "You don't need to do that. We'll be back soon. Just, keep them here." I straightened, the gift still in my hands. "You sure? I can pack them up for you." "Dad, stop." He ran a hand through his hair, his new sweater catching the light, cashmere, I realized, the kind Mary would have called extravagant. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." The word stung, but I forced a smile. "All right. Just tell the kids I love them. And Sarah, wish her mom well for me." He nodded, already moving toward the door. "Yeah, I will. Thanks for understanding." I followed him, the floorboards creaking under my socks. "You need anything? For the trip, I mean." "I could. We're fine." He opened the door, cold air rushing in. The gift slipped from my hands, hitting the floor with a soft thud. He didn't notice. "See you after the holidays, Dad." The door clicked shut, and the house felt too big, too quiet. I stood by the tree, the lights blurring as I stared at the empty street. His car's taillights faded into the snow, red pinpricks swallowed by white. He hadn't even called Emily to say goodnight. I sank into a chair, the table set for a family that wasn't coming. The turkey sat untouched, steam rising like a ghost. My phone lay beside the plates, screen dark. I picked it up, thumb hovering over Emily's name. Maybe a quick message, just to hear her voice. But my hand froze. Heavy with something I couldn't name. The tree lights flickered, and the house held its breath. Christmas Eve should have felt like a hug from the past, but the house was a hollow shell. The turkey sat half-carved on the counter, its juices pooling like regret. I'd set the table anyway, plates gleaming under the chandelier, as if hope could summon a family. The radio played Jingle Bells, its cheer mocking the empty chairs. Emily and Max's plate stared back, accusing. I sank into a chair, the weight of the day pressing my shoulders down. To distract myself, I grabbed my phone. The screen glowed, a lighthouse in the dim kitchen. Facebook wasn't my usual haunt, too much noise, too many strangers, but I scrolled anyway, past neighbors' snowmen and church bake sales. Then I saw it, Sarah's name, bolded under a new post. My thumb hesitated, then tapped. The photo loaded, and my breath caught. There they were, Christopher, Sarah, her mother, Emily, and Max, grinning on a beach, the ocean behind them a reckless blue. Palm trees framed the shot, and Sarah held a cocktail, its umbrella casting a shadow. The caption read, "Best vacation with the best family." Posted an hour ago. From Hawaii. I zoomed in, my thumb trembling. Sarah's mother, the one supposedly dying, stood tanned and laughing, a lei around her neck. Christopher's arm was slung around her, his grin wide, unburdened. Emily looked off to the side, her smile thin, but Max waved at the camera, oblivious. My eyes burned. They weren't in a hospital. They were mocking me. The phone felt like a brick in my hand. I dialed Christopher's number, my pulse hammering. It rang twice before he picked up. "Dad? It's late." His voice was clipped, annoyed, like I'd interrupted something. "Where are you?" I asked, my voice low, barely mine. A pause. "With Sarah's mom. I told you. Don't lie to me." The words slipped out, sharp as a blade. I saw the photo. "Hawaii, Christopher. You're in Hawaii." Silence, then a huff. "You're spying on us now. God, you're so clingy." Clingy? My grip tightened, knuckles whitening. "You said her mom was sick. I gave you $10,000 for her treatment. You're blowing this out of proportion." His tone turned cold, dismissive. "It's not your business, Dad. Just drop it." "Drop it?" My voice cracked. "You left me alone on Christmas to go sip cocktails with money I gave you for a lie." "Stop being so dramatic," he snapped. "You're too much, you know that." The line went dead, the beep echoing like a slammed door. I stared at the phone, its screen still glowing with that photo. Their smiles burned into me, each one a betrayal. The radio switched to "Oh Holy Night," and the irony twisted in my gut. I paced the living room, the tree's lights casting cold shadows. My eyes landed on Mary's photo on the mantel, her soft smile steady as always. "You wouldn't have let this slide," I whispered, my voice breaking. The gifts under the tree sat untouched, their wrapping paper gleaming like a promise gone sour. I sank onto the couch, the phone slipping from my hand. It hit the floor, the screen cracking with a faint snap. My eyes drifted to my wallet on the table, a corner of a bank receipt peeking out. $10,000. The number pulsed in my mind, a wound that wouldn't close. I reached for the wallet, my fingers brushing the paper, and pulled it out. The receipt unfolded, crisp and accusing, a record of my trust turned to ash. Christmas morning dawned quiet, the kind of silence that settled like frost. The kitchen smelled of stale coffee, the mug in my hands long gone cold. The bank receipt lay on the table, its edges curling like a confession. $10,000, wired to Christopher 3 weeks ago. For Sarah's mom, he'd said, his voice thick with fake urgency. I'd believed him. I always did. I traced the numbers with my thumb, each digit a stab of clarity. That money wasn't saving anyone. It had bought plane tickets, hotel rooms, those cocktails they waved at the camera. My sacrifice, years of careful saving, skipping a new car, telling myself it was for family, had been their vacation. My chest tightened, a mix of grief and rage. I leaned back, closing my eyes. The memory came unbidden, the bank, 3 weeks ago. Christopher had called, frantic, saying Sarah's mom needed surgery. "You're our only hope, Dad," he'd said. I'd driven to the bank that same day, the clerk's pen scratching as I signed away my safety net. Christopher had hugged me outside, his grip quick, his eyes darting away. I'd thought it was worry. Now I saw it for what it was, guilt. Back in the present, I stood, the chair scraping the floor. The receipt crumpled in my fist, but I smoothed it out, unable to let go. "You idiot," I muttered to myself. "You gave him everything." My voice echoed in the empty kitchen, sharp and raw. I paced, the floor cold under my socks. The tree in the living room stood dark, its lights unplugged, the gifts beneath it a cruel reminder of what I'd lost. I wandered to my study, the small room where Mary's things still lived. The desk was cluttered with old letters, her handwriting looping across faded paper. I opened a drawer, searching for something, comfort, maybe. My fingers brushed a card from Christopher, sent years ago when he was in college. "I'll always be there for you, Dad," it read. I snorted, the sound bitter. The card hit the desk, and a letter from Mary slipped to the floor. I knelt to pick it up, her words catching the light, "You're too good, James. Don't let it break you." The words burned. She'd seen it even then, my need to give, to trust, to hope. I clutched the letter, my resolve hardening. "No more," I said, my voice steady now. "I'm done being the fool." Outside, the world was soft with snow, kids' laughter drifting from a neighbor's yard. I glanced at the window, their joy a stark contrast to the ache in my chest. The receipt still lay on the kitchen table, a symbol of everything I'd let slide. I wasn't that man anymore. Not after this. A sharp knock at the door broke my thoughts. I froze, the letter still in my hand. Another knock, insistent. I tucked the receipt into my pocket, my heart racing with something new, purpose. Crossing the room, I opened the door to find Ellen Thompson, my neighbor, holding a plate of cookies. Her smile was warm, but her eyes narrowed, catching the storm in mine. "James, you okay?" she asked, stepping inside. I forced a nod, but my grip on the door tightened. The receipt burned in my pocket, and I knew, this was where it started. The kitchen was a graveyard of Christmas cheer, the turkey congealed in its dish, the coffee cold as the snow outside. I sat at the table, the bank receipt in my hand, its numbers glaring like a betrayal carved in ink. $10,000. My sacrifice, my trust, turned into their beachside cocktails. I crumpled the paper, then smoothed it out, unable to let go. My eyes drifted to Mary's photo on the counter, her smile soft but unyielding. "I won't let them do this to me," I whispered, my voice a stranger's. I stood, the chair scraping the linoleum, and shoved the receipt into a drawer. Enough wallowing. I paced the living room, the unlit Christmas tree looming like a ghost. My reflection caught in the window, tired eyes, but something else, too. A flicker of the man I used to be, the one who fixed bridges and carried Mary's laughter in his pocket. A knock at the door jolted me. I opened it to find Ellen Thompson, her gray hair dusted with snow, holding a plate of cookies wrapped in cellophane. Her smile was warm, but her eyes narrowed, reading me like a book. "James, you look like you've seen a ghost," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invite. "Just a rough Christmas," I muttered, taking the cookies. Their cinnamon scent clashed with the stale air of my house. She set her scarf on the chair, her movements brisk. Rough doesn't cover it. Spill it, Wilson. I've got time. I hesitated, but her steady gaze cracked something open. We sat at the kitchen table, the cookies untouched between us. I told her everything, Christopher's lie, the Hawaii photo, the $10,000 I'd given for a fake illness. My voice shook, but I kept going, the words spilling like water from a broken dam. Ellen listened, her fingers tracing the rim of a mug that read "Justice is the best revenge." "They played you," she said when I finished, her tone sharp but kind. "But you're not the first. My nephew pulled something similar, cleaned out my savings for his business. I got it back. You can, too." I leaned forward, my pulse quickening. "How?" She grinned, a glint in her eye. "I was a lawyer, James. I know a few tricks. Let's start with that account you shared with Christopher. We can freeze it, for starters." The idea landed like a spark in dry grass. I followed her to her house, a bright, modern place that smelled of coffee and possibility. Her living room was all warm wood and handmade ornaments, a stark contrast to my dim, cluttered space. She pulled a box of old legal files from a shelf, spreading papers across her dining table. "This," she said, tapping a document, "is how I nailed my nephew. You need a lawyer, but I know a good one." We sipped coffee, the mugs warming my hands as I scribbled notes in a battered notebook. Freeze the account. Call an attorney. Maybe even demand the money back. My hand trembled, not from fear but from something new, purpose. I pictured Christopher's smug grin fading, Sarah's perfect social media life cracking like thin ice. Ellen's voice softened. "You're not alone in this, James. I've been where you are. It hurts, but it's also a chance to take back what's yours." I nodded, my throat tight. Her words felt like a lifeline. On her wall, a photo of her with her late husband caught my eye, both laughing, arms around each other. It reminded me of Mary, of what I'd lost, and what I still had to fight for. As I left her house, she pressed a business card into my hand. "Call this guy. Tom Clark. He's tough but fair. Tell him I sent you." I slipped the card into my pocket, the snow crunching under my boots as I walked home. The sky was gray, but the world felt sharper, clearer. I thought about the letter I'd write to Christopher, not pleading, not angry, but firm. A declaration. The card in my pocket was heavy with promise, and as I reached my door, the first flakes of a new storm began to fall. The wind bit at my knuckles as I stood outside Clark & Associates, the lawyer's office tucked between a bakery and a bookstore in downtown Concord. The business card from Ellen was creased in my pocket, Tom Clark's name printed in crisp black letters. My breath fogged in the air, and for a moment, I almost turned back. But the memory of Christopher's voice, "You're too much, Dad," pushed me forward. I gripped the door handle, cold as a blade, and stepped inside. The office smelled of paper and weak coffee, the kind that sat too long in a pot. A receptionist glanced up, her glasses reflecting the fluorescent light. "Mr. Wilson. Mr. Clark's ready for you." Tom Clark was a wiry man in his 50s, his suit sharp but his eyes sharper. He shook my hand, his grip firm, and motioned to a chair. "Ellen said you've got a problem. Lay it out." I did, my voice steadier than I expected. The $10,000. Christopher's lie about Sarah's mother. The Hawaii photo, their laughter frozen in pixels. Clark listened, jotting notes on a yellow pad, his pen scratching like a heartbeat. "So, you want to freeze the joint account you share with your son," he said, leaning back. "That's doable. It's your money, legally speaking. But he'll fight it." "Let him," I said, surprising myself. "He lied to me. Used me." Clark nodded, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "All right. We'll file a request to freeze the account today. You'll need to sign some papers, and I'll need details, bank statements, transfer records. I handed him the receipt, its edges worn from my fingers. He scanned it, then slid a stack of documents across the desk. I signed where he pointed, the pen heavy in my hand, each stroke a step away from the man who'd trusted too easily. When it was done, Clark stood. "This is just the start, James. They'll react. Be ready." I left the office, the winter air sharp against my face. Downtown Concord buzzed with post-Christmas shoppers, their bags swinging like pendulums. A young couple laughed by the bookstore, their ease a pang in my chest. I pushed it down, focusing on the weight of the signed papers in my briefcase. Back home, the house felt different. I cleared the table, tossing out the remnants of Christmas dinner, and plugged in the tree's lights. They flickered to life, casting a warm glow. I sat at the kitchen table, a blank sheet of paper before me. The words needed to be right, not a rant, but a blade, clean and sharp. I wrote. "Christopher. Your account is frozen. You lied about Sarah's mother, used my money for your vacation. Trust is earned, and you've broken it. This isn't over. Dad." The pen shook, ink smudging where I pressed too hard. I read it aloud, testing its weight. It was enough. I folded the letter, slid it into an envelope, and wrote his name with deliberate care, like signing a contract. The tree lights blinked, steady as a pulse. I walked to the mailbox, the snow soft under my boots. The envelope dropped with a quiet thud, the sound final. My phone buzzed as I turned back, Ellen, texting to check in. "How'd it go with Clark?" I smiled, typing a quick reply, but another notification stopped me cold. A missed call from Christopher, time-stamped an hour ago. My thumb hovered over the screen, the tree's reflection glinting in the glass. The living room was dim, the Christmas tree's lights pulsing like a slow heartbeat. I sat on the couch, flipping through old photos of Emily and Max on my phone, their gap-toothed smiles a knife in my chest. The house was too quiet, the kind of silence that amplified every creak. Then my phone rang, the screen flashing Christopher's name. My pulse spiked, but I answered, bracing myself. "Dad, what the hell is this?" Christopher's voice was a snarl, loud enough to make the speaker crackle. "You froze my account. Are you serious?" I leaned back, gripping the armrest. "I'm serious. You lied to me, Christopher. $10,000 for a fake illness. You think I'd let that slide?" "You're insane," he shouted. I heard waves in the background, the ocean mocking me from Hawaii. "That's our money. You can't just." "It's my money," I cut in, my voice low, steady. "You broke my trust. You don't get to play victim." He laughed, bitter and sharp. "You're pathetic, you know that. Always making everything about you. We needed a break, okay? You don't own us." Before I could respond, Sarah's voice sliced through. "James, give me the phone." Her tone was ice, controlled but venomous. "You're being selfish," she said. "This little stunt of yours. It's hurting the kids. Emily's crying because of you. You want to be the bad guy? Fine. But you'll never see them again." My stomach twisted, her words hitting my weakest spot. I saw Emily's face in my mind, her sad eyes from that Hawaii photo. But I held firm. "You started this, Sarah. You and Christopher. Don't pin it on me. You're a bitter old man," she spat. "You think you're teaching us a lesson? You're just pushing us away." Max's laughter echoed faintly behind her, carefree, oblivious. It stung more than her words. "I'm done being used," I said, my voice like steel. "You made your choice." I hung up, the phone's beep echoing in the quiet room. My reflection stared back from the dark window, eyes hard, jaw set. I barely recognized myself. The tree lights flickered, their glow harsh now, exposing every crack in my resolve. Sarah's threat lingered, losing Emily and Max was a wound I couldn't face. But retreating wasn't an option. Not anymore. I set the phone down, my coffee mug cold on the table, the lawyer's business card beside it. Outside, snow fell in slow, heavy flakes, blanketing the world in silence. My phone buzzed again, a Facebook notification. I opened it, my heart sinking. Sarah had posted a vague status: some people would rather tear a family apart than let go of their grudges. We're stronger than that. The comments were piling up, friends offering sympathy, strangers liking her martyr act. My jaw clenched, the phone hot in my hand. I tossed it onto the couch and stood, crossing to the kitchen. Ellen's cookies sat on the counter, their cellophane crinkling as I touched the plate. The sweetness of cinnamon drifted up, grounding me. I glanced back at the phone, its screen still glowing with Sarah's lies, and felt a new fire kindle inside. The morning hit like a slap, my phone buzzing relentlessly on the nightstand. I groaned, rubbing sleep from my eyes, and grabbed it. The screen glowed with notifications, each one a jab. Sarah's latest Facebook post stared back at me, her words sharp as broken glass: some family members would rather destroy us than support us. Freezing our account was cruel, leaving our kids to suffer. The comments piled up, friends I'd known for years, neighbors, even my old bowling buddy, Tom, chiming in with shocked emojis and, how could he? My stomach churned. They believed her. I tossed the phone onto the couch, its screen still burning with accusations. My hands shook as I shuffled to the kitchen, grabbing a glass of water. The glass slipped, shattering on the floor, the shards glinting like my fractured reputation. I cursed under my breath, sweeping up the mess, but the sting of Sarah's lies lingered. How had it come to this? My own son, my own town, turning against me. The phone rang, slicing through the quiet. Tom's name flashed. I hesitated, then answered, bracing myself. James, what's going on? His voice was cautious, like he was stepping on thin ice. Sarah's post: did you really freeze their account? Cut off the kids? I gripped the counter, my knuckles whitening. Tom, it's not what you think. They lied to me. Took $10,000 for a fake illness and went to Hawaii. I'm not the villain here. A long pause. That's a lot to take in. But the kids, James. People are saying you're hurting them. People don't know the truth, I snapped, then softened. You've known me 30 years, Tom. Do I seem like the type to hurt my grandkids? He sighed. No. But it looks bad. Just, be careful, all right? He hung up, leaving me with the echo of his doubt. I sank into a chair, the Christmas tree blinking in the corner, its lights mocking my isolation. Had I gone too far? The thought gnawed at me, but Mary's photo on the mantel steadied my resolve. She'd never let lies win. Neither would I. Needing air, I grabbed my coat and headed to the corner cafe, its windows fogged with warmth. The bell jingled as I stepped inside, the scent of coffee and cinnamon wrapping around me. Ellen sat at a table, a newspaper spread before her, her gray hair catching the light. She looked up, her smile fading as she saw my face. James, you look like you've been through a war. What's wrong? I slid into the seat across from her, the chatter of the cafe fading. Sarah's painting me as a monster online. People believe her. Even Tom's questioning me. Ellen snorted, folding the paper. Sarah's running a Broadway show on Facebook. It's all drama, no substance. You've got the truth on your side. I rubbed my temples. Doesn't feel like it. Everyone's swallowing her story. She leaned forward, her eyes sharp. Then don't play her game. No posts, no arguments online. Stick to your plan. Clark's handling the account, right? Let the facts hit her where it hurts. She grabbed a napkin, sketching a quick timeline. Keep quiet, let her dig her own grave. People will see through it. Her confidence was a lifeline. I nodded, my jaw tightening. You're right. I'm not backing down. Ellen grinned, pushing the napkin toward me. That's the James the First no. Now, order a coffee. You need it. The cafe buzzed around us, families laughing, kids drawing on placemats. Their joy stung, a reminder of what I was fighting for. My phone buzzed again, and I glanced at it, a text from Emily, "Grandpa, can I call you?" My heart skipped, hope and fear tangling. I typed a quick, "Of course, sweetheart," and pocketed the phone, the weight of her words pulling me toward the door. The walk home from the cafe was brisk, the snow crunching under my boots, but Emily's text burned in my pocket. I settled onto the couch, the Christmas tree casting a soft glow across the room. The gifts for Emily and Max sat untouched beneath it, their wrapping paper curling at the edges. My phone felt heavy as I dialed her number, the ring distant, like a call across time. The line clicked, and her small voice came through, hesitant but warm. "Grandpa?" "Hey, sweetheart," I said, my throat tight. "How's my favorite girl?" "I'm okay," she said. But there was a tremble, like she was holding back tears. "Why are you fighting with Mom and Dad?" "They're so mad." I leaned back, glancing at her photo on the mantel, her gap-toothed grin from last summer. The truth was a weight I didn't want to put on her, but she deserved honesty. "Emily, your parents, they weren't truthful with me. They said your other grandma was sick and needed money. I gave them a lot, but they used it to go to Hawaii instead." A pause, then a sniffle. "Why would they do that?" Her voice cracked, and my heart with it. I heard the ocean in the background, a cruel reminder of their lie. "I don't know, honey," I said softly. "Sometimes people make bad choices. But I'm trying to fix it, okay? I love you and Max more than anything." She hiccuped, her voice small. "I saw Mom crying yesterday. She was yelling about money. I didn't know it was yours." My grip tightened on the phone, guilt and anger warring inside me. "I'm sorry you had to hear that. But this isn't your fault. Can you keep this between us? Just for now." "Okay," she whispered. "I miss you, Grandpa. When can I see you?" "Soon, I promise." The words felt fragile, but I meant them. "You call me anytime, all right?" "I will." A faint smile crept into her voice. "I love you." "Love you too, sweetheart." The call ended, and I set the phone down, my chest aching. The tree's lights blurred as I stared at the gifts, their ribbons a reminder of the family I was fighting for, and against. Telling Emily the truth had been a risk, but her trust was a spark, reigniting my resolve. Sarah's threats, Christopher's lies, they wouldn't take her from me. I stood, crossing to the kitchen. Ellen's cookies sat on the counter, their scent faint but comforting. The lawyer's business card lay beside them, its edges worn from my fingers. I picked it up, my mind racing with next steps. Clark had the account frozen, but there was more to do. Something bigger. A sharp knock at the door broke my thoughts. I opened it to find Ellen, her scarf dusted with snow, her eyes bright with purpose. "James, I've got an idea," she said, stepping inside. "You're not gonna like it, but it's a game changer." I closed the door, the tree's light catching her grin, and felt the air shift, like a storm was coming. Ellen's house glowed with New Year's Eve warmth, the air thick with the scent of chamomile tea and pine. Fairy lights draped across her mantel, their soft flicker dancing over stacks of legal books and a cluttered dining table. She waved me in, her grin infectious, and I set the lawyer's card beside her laptop. "All right, Ellen," I said, pulling out a chair. "What's this game changer?" She slid a notepad across the table, her handwriting sharp and precise. "We hit them where it hurts," she said, tapping the page. A lawsuit for fraud. Your receipt proves you transferred $10,000 under false pretenses. Clark can file it, and it'll scare the daylights out of Christopher. I leaned forward, the K heavy in my pocket. A lawsuit? That's big. What if it backfires? It won't, she said, her voice steady. You've got evidence. And here's the kicker, she leaned closer, her eyes glinting. We leaked the story to the local paper. Anonymously, of course. A tale of betrayal, time to hit when they're back from Hawaii. Sarah loves her social media spotlight. Let's see how she handles a front-page scandal. My pulse quickened, a mix of fear and thrill. The paper. That's public. People will talk. Let them, she said, scribbling a headline, local couple swindles elderly father. Truth's your weapon, James. They'll crumble under the scrutiny. I hesitated, picturing Sarah's polished facade cracking, Christopher's smugness fading. But the publicity, my name, my family, exposed, made my stomach twist. I glanced at Ellen, her pen dancing over the notepad, and felt a pull, something beyond strategy. Her bracelet, woven by her granddaughter, caught the light, a mirror to my love for Emily. All right, I said, my voice firm. Let's do it. Lawsuit and the paper. But we keep my name out of the article. Smart man. She grinned, her hand brushing mine as she passed me a pen. The touch lingered, warm, and I caught her eye, a spark of something new flickering between us. We'll draft the complaint tonight, she said, softer now. Clark can file it tomorrow. We worked late, the table a battlefield of notes and tea mugs. Ellen read legal clauses aloud, her voice steady, while I jotted ideas for the article, vague enough to protect me, sharp enough to sting. Outside, fireworks popped, early celebrations lighting the sky. Our own salute, Ellen quipped, raising her mug. I laughed, the sound foreign but welcome. The plan felt alive, a machine we'd built together. I imagined the newspaper hitting doorsteps, Christopher's shock, Sarah's panic. But Emily's voice echoed in my mind, her trust a fragile thread. This had to work, for her, for me. My phone buzzed, cutting through the warmth. A text from Clark, lawsuit drafted. Ready to file tomorrow. Call me. I showed Ellen, her nod a silent cheer. The fireworks outside flared, red and gold, and I pocketed the phone, my fingers brushing the receipt. The night felt electric, a new year dawning with the promise of justice. The morning sun sliced through my kitchen window, glinting off the coffee mug in my hand. The Christmas tree stood proud, its light steady now, a quiet rebellion against the darkness of the past weeks. My phone buzzed, Clark's name flashing. I answered, my pulse quickening. James, it's done, he said, his voice crisp. The fraud lawsuit's filed. Christopher and Sarah will be served today. I exhaled, a weight lifting. And the paper? Hit the stands this morning. Check your porch. I hung up, grabbed my coat, and stepped outside. The air was sharp, snow dusting the street like powdered sugar. A newspaper lay on my doorstep, its headline bold, Son swindles father for vacation cash. My fingers left smudges on the page as I read. The article was merciless, my $10,000 transfer, Christopher's lie about Sarah's mother, their Hawaii getaway, all laid bare, my name carefully omitted. Each word was a jab, precise and righteous. My chest swelled with something like pride, tinged with dread. I tucked the paper under my arm and headed downtown, the streets alive with post-New Year bustle. Concord's main square still sparkled with holiday lights, but the cheer felt distant. I pushed through the glass doors of the Concord Chronicle office, the smell of ink and old wood greeting me. The editor, a wiry man named Harris, looked up from his desk, his glasses slipping down his nose. Mr. Wilson, he said, standing. Your story's got the town talking. Phones haven't stopped ringing. I set the paper on his desk, my hand steady. People are reading it, then. Reading? He chuckled, leaning back. They're eating it up. Neighbors, shop owners, everyone's shocked. Some lady called saying she saw your son's wife at the mall last year, flashing cash like a queen. You've stirred a hornet's nest. I nodded, a grim satisfaction settling in. Good. They need to know the truth. Harris studied me, his eyes warm but sharp. You're a brave man, going public like this, even anonymously. Not many would. Just wanted what's right, I said, my voice low. Thanks for running it. I left the office, the winter air biting my cheeks. On the street, a neighbor glanced my way, then whispered to her friend. Their eyes followed me, not with pity but with something else, respect, maybe. The article was working, peeling back Sarah's polished lies. I pulled out my phone and dialed Ellen. It's out, I said when she answered. The lawsuit's filed, and the paper's a hit. She laughed, the sound bright. You're a local legend now, James. Bet Sarah's choking on her Mai Tai. I grinned, her words a spark in the cold. Let's hope so. Back home, I spread the newspaper on the kitchen table, the headline glaring up at me. The tree's lights cast a warm glow, and for the first time in weeks, the house felt like mine again. I sipped my coffee, imagining Christopher's face as he read the article, Sarah's perfect world crumbling. The victory was sweet, but a thread of unease lingered. How would they hit back? My phone buzzed, snapping me out of it. A text from Christopher. We're back tomorrow. We need to talk. I stared at the screen, my smile sharp but wary. The tree blinked in the corner, and I folded the paper, ready for the next fight. The knock came sharp and heavy, like a gavel. I set my tea down, the mug clinking against the table, and crossed to the door. Snow swirled outside, clinging to the porch. Christopher and Sarah stood there, their faces drawn, clothes rumpled from the long flight. No kids, no bravado, just two people who looked like they'd lost a war. I held the newspaper in one hand, its headline hidden but heavy, and stepped aside. Come in. They shuffled into the living room, the air thick with tension. The Christmas tree loomed in the corner, its lights cold now, a silent witness. I stood by the fireplace, the newspaper a shield against their presence. Christopher cleared his throat, his eyes darting to the floor. Dad, we're sorry. We messed up. Sarah nodded, her mascara smudged, a handkerchief twisted in her hands. We didn't mean to hurt you, James. It got out of hand. We'll pay you back, every cent. Just, drop the lawsuit. Please. I studied them, their words soft but hollow. Christopher's shoulders slumped, his usual swagger gone. Sarah's tears felt rehearsed, her eyes flickering to the newspaper in my hand. I tightened my grip, the paper crinkling. You think money fixes this? I said, my voice steady, cutting. You lied to me, used me, left me alone on Christmas. And now you're sorry because you got caught. Christopher flinched, his voice low. We were desperate, okay? We needed a break. You don't know what it's like, raising kids, keeping up. Don't, I snapped, stepping forward. Don't you dare use Emily and Max as an excuse. You took my trust, my savings, and laughed about it in Hawaii. Sarah reached out, her hand trembling. James, we're family. Think of the kids. This lawsuit, that article, it's tearing us apart. I pulled back, the newspaper crackling in my fist. You tore us apart. Not me. The article's out, the truth's out. Justice won before you even stepped off that plane. Christopher's jaw tightened, but his eyes stayed down. What do you want, Dad? You want us to beg? We're here, begging. I looked at them, their faces pale under the tree's glow, and felt a flicker of the old me, the one who'd forgive, who'd give in. But Mary's photo on the mantel stared back, her strength in my bones. I'm dropping the lawsuit, I said, and Sarah's shoulders sagged with relief. Not because you deserve it, I continued, my voice like ice, but because I'm done living your lies. You don't get my forgiveness. Not now. Maybe not ever. Sarah's sob broke the silence, but it didn't move me. Christopher opened his mouth, then closed it, defeated. They turned to leave, their footsteps heavy. The door clicked shut, snow swirling in their wake, their tracks fading into the night. I sank into a chair, the newspaper slipping to the floor. The tree's lights blurred, my chest tight but lighter than it had been in weeks. I'd won, but the victory was bitter, laced with the loss of what we'd been. My phone rang, shattering the quiet, Ellen's name on the screen. James, you free tonight? She asked, her voice warm. I've got lasagna and a bottle of red. Let's celebrate. I smiled, the weight shifting. Be there in 20, I said, grabbing my coat, the snow outside calling me forward. Ellen's house was a warm cocoon, the scent of lasagna and red wine mingling with the faint glow of fairy lights still strung across her mantel. The dining table was set for two, candles flickering like promises. I slipped the envelope from my coat pocket, its edges crisp, and set it beside my plate. Ellen raised an eyebrow, her grin teasing. What's that, James? Another lawsuit? I chuckled, the sound easy for the first time in weeks. Better. Open it. She slid the envelope open, her eyes widening as 2 plane tickets to Hawaii spilled out. You're kidding, she said, her voice a mix of shock and delight. Hawaii? You, me, and a beach? Figured we earned it, I said, leaning back. You stood by me through this mess, Ellen. Help me take back my life. I can't think of anyone I'd rather share this with. Her cheeks flushed. And she laughed, the sound bright as the candles. You sure you can handle me in a swimsuit, Wilson? I'm a terror with a piña colada. I'll take my chances, I said, my smile soft, a warmth spreading in my chest. Her hand brushed mine as she set the tickets down, and neither of us pulled away. We ate, the lasagna rich, the wine loosening our words. We talked about the fight, Christopher's defeat, Sarah's tears, the town buzzing with the article. But mostly, we talked about what came next. Hawaii's just the start, Ellen said, her eyes sparkling. We're not done living, James. Not by a long shot. I raised my glass, the candlelight catching the wine's deep red. To justice, I said. And new horizons. She clinked her glass against mine. To us. Days later, we stood in the chaos of the airport, announcements crackling overhead, the air thick with coffee and anticipation. Ellen's suitcase was bright yellow, a beacon in the crowd, and she nudged me as we boarded. No turning back now, she said, her grin infectious. Hawaii greeted us with a warm breeze, the ocean stretching endless before our hotel. We stood on the beach, sand soft under our feet, cocktails in hand, mine a simple beer, hers a vibrant concoction with a tiny umbrella. The waves rolled in, steady and sure, washing away the sting of betrayal. I thought of Christopher and Sarah, their lives buried in the snow back home, and felt only peace. Ellen kicked off her sandals, the sand claiming them. Better than shoveling snow, right? She said, laughing as she splashed into the shallows. I followed, the water cool against my ankles. Damn right. My eyes caught a small note in my bag as I set it down, a letter from Emily, tucked in before we left. I'm proud of you, Grandpa, it read, her handwriting wobbly but fierce. I smiled, tucking it away, and turned to Ellen, her silhouette framed by the sunset. The ocean stretched before us, vast and unyielding, its rhythm a song of freedom. I sipped my beer, the horizon endless, and let the moment carry me forward. If you liked this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.